If you'll permit me, dear reader, an excursion into the works of Jorge Luis Borges, I'm reminded of a particular passage from The Analytical Language of John Wilkins, wherein Borges speaks of a certain celestial emporium of benevolent knowledge. In this fictional, or perhaps fantastical, Chinese encyclopedia, animals are divided into categories so whimsical and bizarre that they shatter our conventional classifications. The categories include such peculiar distinctions as those that belong to the emperor and those drawn with a very fine camel hair brush. The point Borges makes through the absurdity of these classifications is about the inherent arbitrariness and futility of our attempts to categorize the infinite complexity of the world. This excursion into the fantastical, although perhaps an unusual starting point, seems rather fitting when we embark on an exploration into the Pokémon universe, a world where myth, legend, creature and technology intertwine in a tapestry as colorful and perplexing as Borges' imagination. Let us for a moment ponder the rather amusing notion of which Pokémon I, Christopher Hitchens, might have been, had the cards of fate dealt me into that animated universe rather than this earthly realm. After much contemplation and a not insignificant amount of self-examination, I find myself inexorably drawn to the character of Alakazam. This psychic Pokémon, with its human-like intellect, eloquence, and philosophical depth, seems to echo some of the very traits that I have endeavored to cultivate in myself. Alakazam is a Pokémon that evolves from Kadabra, starting out as the rather less imposing Abra. This evolutionary journey is itself a fascinating metaphor for intellectual and philosophical growth. Abra, often seen sleeping and dreaming, represents the potential for wisdom, while Kadabra, with its burgeoning psychic abilities, symbolizes the adolescence of intellectual pursuit. Finally, Alakazam stands as the epitome of enlightenment, wielding spoons that are said to be the conduits of its psychic power. Now let us delve into the rather esoteric lore of Alakazam. Legend has it that this Pokémon possesses an IQ of 5,000, a number so astronomical that it transcends mere hyperbole and drifts into the realms of the mythic. This intellect is said to encompass an understanding of everything that has occurred in the world since its birth, a concept that echoes the ancient idea of omniscience, albeit refashioned for a children's game. But Alakazam's intellect is not just about brute cognitive force. Its name itself is an invocation of mystery and magic, a reference to the words Alakazam, used by magicians and illusionists. This connection to magic and illusion echoes the art of rhetoric and argumentation. For what is an essayist if not a magician of words, weaving together threads of logic and emotion to create something that transcends mere ink on paper? Alakazam's design, too, is imbued with symbolism. Its moustache is said to be an indicator of its age and wisdom, and its body is thin and wiry, as though all its energy is focused on its intellectual pursuits. Its eyes, meanwhile, are sharp and piercing, like those of a keen observer of the human condition. Interestingly, in the deeper and more obscure annals of Pokémon lore, there exists a mega-evolution of Alakazam. This evolution sees it growing a beard and acquiring additional spoons, representing an even deeper and more profound wisdom. The beard, in particular, might be seen as a nod to the ancient philosophers and sages who were often depicted with flowing beards, a symbol of their wisdom and experience. To draw parallels between oneself and such a fictional creature might seem a frivolous exercise, and yet there's a certain profundity to the endeavor. The Pokémon universe, with its rich mythology and intricate rules, serves as a mirror to our own attempts to classify and understand the world. In choosing Alakazam, I'm not merely selecting a character with a superficial resemblance to my own interests and inclinations. Rather, I'm engaging in a form of self-reflection, seeking to understand what it is that drives me and defines me as a thinker and a writer. In this, I find a strange kinship with Borges, who through his own fantastical writings sought to explore the boundaries of knowledge and understanding. Both he and I have ventured into the realms of the imaginary, using it as a vehicle to explore ideas that transcend the mundane and everyday. So, dear reader, the next time you find yourself dismissing the fantastical or the absurd, pause for a moment and consider what truths might be hidden within. For as Borges reminds us, and as the world of Pokémon so beautifully illustrates, the universe is far stranger and more wondrous than we can ever truly comprehend. Even in something as seemingly trivial as a children's game, we can find reflections of our own deepest fears, desires, and truths.